Welcome to Wine Soundtrack USA. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world. In 30 Answers, discover their stories, personalities, and passions.
Hello, friends and listeners of Wine Soundtrack. This is Allison Levine, and today I'm in the Livermore Valley with Darcie Kent Winery and the owner and artist of the same name, Darcie Kent. Darcie, welcome to Wine Soundtrack, and tell us about the winery named after you.
Thank you.
I'm going to keep saying Darcie Kent from Darcie Kent.
I know, it's always very confusing. It's like me or the brand. Thank you. I am so delighted. Really been looking forward to the interview, and it's a gorgeous day, so this is a lot of fun.
I know.
We started this winery on this property 11 years ago, but we started with a single wine, Merlot, in 1996, but I am fifth generation in the United States, and our seventh was just born 3 months ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Hazel.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah.
So you're located here in the Livermore Valley, and you've been making wine here, but you come from a long history of wine, right?
I do. The wine making and wine growing has just been a part of every generation of our family. My great-great-grandfather came over from Switzerland, not a rip-roaring wine country, but big. I mean, they made a living from it.
Yeah,
and they came over and during the pandemic, and they almost an entire village moved over. And they were looking for a winemaker to come over, so they enticed my great-great-grandfather and his son, Christian, both named Christian Rugsugger, to come to the Missouri River Valley. And they established a winery there called the Alpine Winery. And it was, when they started the bond, they were given the 60-second bond. But they were there far before bonds were given. They operated all the way until 1962.
Wow, through Prohibition.
Yes. So from 1883, they planted the vineyards in 1875, opened the winery in 1883, and then ran continuously and then during Prohibition, it was a speakeasy. Yes, which he was arrested for. Wow. I have proof that we ran a speakeasy.
Wow.
Yes.
So here we are, 5 generations later, and you're making wine here in the Livermore Valley. Tell me a little bit about Darcie Kent. How many acres do you have, and what are you producing?
Right now we have 80 acres on vine. We are producing everything from Gruner Veltliner, Sauvignon Blanc, Albarino.
So many grapes.
Right. 3 different clones of Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, the 2 different clones of Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, Merlot,
wow,
Primitivo, Petit Syrah. That's all I can think of at that moment.
And are all the 80 acres sort of continuous right here around the property?
There's 15 acres here on vine, then straight across immediately across the road are the rest.
Okay, so you're growing Pinot Noir, Petit Syrah, and Cabernet in the same place?
We are. The wine region is amazing. We have incredible diurnal swings, which means the temperatures swing 40 degrees every day, which is unusual. Most regions, you look on the news in the morning when the temperatures dial across the screen, and it's usually a 20-degree swing, if that.
Yeah.
And we get 40.
Wow.
So and then there's the perpetual winds. I know that as the climate change is happening, the Central Valley is getting warmer. We're getting the fog brought in and the wind that creates deeper, longer, harder, and so our temperatures were actually cooling. We've gone from a cool region 4. And now we're a cool region 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have 80 acres. How many, do you buy any fruit, or do you do only estate fruit?
We lease fruit. We do occasionally buy. But the 99% of it is leased, long-term lease or our own.
And how many cases do you make?
Oh, God. As we're ramping up. It's over 30,000 cases now, so closer to 35,000 cases.
So you're in full distribution. I'm assuming you're not just direct to consumer, but are your wines available across the country, and are they available internationally?
That's a whole other story. We used to be, and then, COVID really killed everybody. Being a mid-size winery, small mid-size winery, as we are, even though we're, really big for this valley, it's a difficult position with the distributors. They really are playing with the big players, and because the margins are just better,
Yeah. So right now you're really relying on the DTC, the people coming in here.
DTC is fabulous. We are also distributed in Southern California through Pavilions and Vons, up here through Safeway, Costco, as well as Albertsons. And so we're slowly growing in those markets and chains. I feel it's a really important market to hit. Not everybody wants to deal with getting on a phone or the website and ordering wines, DTC, direct to consumer.
Sometimes you just want to walk in a store and buy it.
Yeah, so do I.
And if you're ever in a store and you see the Darcie Kent label, there's a real human named Darcie Kent. It's not made up.
I'm right here.
So Darcie, you said that you are multi-generation kind of connected to wine, but what's your first memory relevant to wine as you?
Wow. It probably goes back to the beginning because we're brought up with wine in our family. We brought our daughters up that same way too. At the dinner table, they were allowed to sniff it, describe it, talk about it. As they got a little bit older, they could have little sips. As they got a little bit older, they could have a little glass. But we just really wanted them to grow up just like I was brought up by my parents and my mother was brought up to really appreciate it as a beverage that not only is lovely on its own, but just kind of creates a celebration.
So in a way, instead of having a first memory of it, it's just always been part of your life.
Always.
Wow.
Wine and art.
So with all the wines you've been drinking for as many years, and I'm sure, when you were a child, this isn't going to be it, but is there one that stands out as an aha moment for you? Was there a point that you tasted a wine and you just said, wow, you said, now I want to make wine, or now I want to pursue this, or I didn't know wine could be like this?
Wow. We were making our Merlot, and all of a sudden, we started investing in things like shaker tables, and we were investing in hand sorting or hand picking and then sorting by hand. And when that wine, and we had been playing with barrels for a long time, but really had settled on some favorite cooperages. And when we opened this wine, Julian and I just got weak in the knees. I had to sit down and I cried. It was like, wow.
That's kind of an aha moment.
Yeah. You're just like, okay, we can do this.
So that one little Merlot, and then here we are today.
It was our one little baby,
I love that. Yeah. I love that. So now if we come to your home, what would we find in there? I mean, is there a lot of Merlot? Is it a lot of your wines or wines from around the world, particular grape varieties? What do you collect? What do you drink?
Big on Pinot. We really love Pinot Noir, so that seems to be what our cellar had been filled with. As we're getting, I don't want to say as we're getting older, but as we're, I find our cellars is going more to aromatic whites. And also to Cab Franc, some, things that are lesser known and are just, full of aromatics and are just, just have a story to tell every time you take a sip,
Is there anything you opened up recently that drank really well?
Oh, I should have a quick answer. I know I'm sitting here going, everything is really incredible. I'm actually right now so enchanted with our 23 Sauvignon Blanc. Every time I open that bottle, every time that those aromatics fill the room, To me, it's like, like summertime. It just brightens my day. Just to smell it, not even to taste it. But it's incredibly complex, but also it just fills your heart with sunshine.
Well, speaking of Sauvignon Blanc and other grape varieties, do you think there's a such thing as a perfect variety?
No. Much like I don't think there's a perfect genre of music. If people ask me that at every club event, what's your favorite wine? And it's like that's asking me to choose what's my favorite music. It depends. What season are we in? What time of day is it? What have I just done? How tired am I? How awake am I? What am I eating? Am I not eating? There's a million selections of music as well as as wine, and thank God for that.
Yeah. Well, and you make a variety of wines. You talked about all the grapes that you're growing. So you're clearly working with a lot of different grape varieties. And I'm wondering, for somebody who's never tasted your wine before, they've never had a Darcie Kent wine, what do you think they're missing out on?
Tasting the fruit, its authenticity, the vineyard, what happened in the vineyard that year. How much did the sun shine? How much did it rain? What were the flowers or grasses growing? Because those are all the things that you're picking up on and you're tasting. We let the wine be made in the vineyard. Julian and the team, we have a very light hand, and we want the wines to be lower in alcohol, brighter in acidity, and balance well with foods, but also, we want you to taste what's in the vineyard.
So if space aliens were to land on your property right now and walk up and knock on the door, which of your wines would you welcome them with to say, this is Darcie Kent Winery?
I would do our Sauvignon Muscat, the Sauvignon Blanc. It's the Muscat clone.
So very aromatic.
Very aromatic, because it's just something that doesn't hide. And even a novice is going to, immediately their eyes will pop open and they're going to see that, oh, this smells good. I do want to try this. But sometimes, a wine, you have to coax it a little bit, or it has more nuances. This Sauvignon Blanc just leaps out of the glass.
Is it liked by most people that taste it?
Oh, yeah. It won the Sauvignon Blanc Summit this year, this wine.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's gotten a 90-plus score in the Wine Enthusiast, a double gold at the San Francisco Chronicle. And, I think everybody seems to go crazy over it. It's the Sauvignon Muscat clone. It's exquisite, and I can't wait for more people to discover it.
So here's a wine that the first thing you said when we started, it's a wine that you love. It's a wine that's drinking so well that you love it. But you also just named all these awards that it's won and scores it's gotten. And I'm wondering what your opinion is on wine critics and scores. Like that segue?
It's fun when you're winning them all.
Of course.
And so, this is a great year to ask me, because it's like we're winning everything. So I love it. In years when you're not winning, you're just kind of, you're like, and same as with the art. Not everybody's going to love everything that you do. And, but there's enough. I think you got to make wine that you're proud of, that is without fault. You don't put out a wine that has faults, and we never do. And so there's a real standard of hygiene, cleanliness, and standard, So we'll never have a wine go out of here that doesn't
live up to that.
Live up to those standards. So we're very proud of everything that goes out, and not everyone loves everything. I mean, we have, of the 1,000 club members that will be coming here 2 weeks to talk to us, I have so many who come up to me and say, I don't drink red, or I don't drink wine, or I don't drink this, or I don't like that. And it's like, great, we have something else. What can I show you?
And so when it comes to kind of wine critics, of course, when you're getting great scores, you take them and you sit up a little straighter, but you don't change things to adapt to scores. That doesn't drive your wine.
No, it helps with the distributors and with the stores. So it is very important for that.
But then when people come here, they just taste and they enjoy.
Yeah, the customers actually, when you're trying to choose what flight you're going to taste or what wines you want to taste, if there's a score next to it that you respect, then it becomes easy.
Well, what about what you drink? Red, white, or rosé?
I drink them all.
Still or sparkling?
Both. I really love bubbles, and I'm getting into bubbles more and more. And we are also getting into bubbles more and more. We have a Cucard press now, and we'll be introducing our Blanc de Noir this fall.
Made with the Pinot Noir?
Pinot Noir, the 3 clones Dijon, the Swiss clone, and oh my gosh, I'm having a senior moment. Pommard.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that is the Dijon. Yeah, Pommard, Dijon, and the Swiss clone. So it's beautiful, and I'm very excited about it. But this year we're also going to do a Sauvignon Blanc, an Albarino, a Rosé of Malbec.
All sparkling.
All sparkling.
And you have the Gruner Veltliner that I'm sipping on right now.
Yes. I just think that bubbles, oh my gosh, they're so much fun, and they just get the party started, right? And, it's why aren't we drinking more of these beautiful varietals in this way with bubbles, So we make all the base wines, and we have a partner winery who does the dressage. But we're hopefully within the next year or two, we will be able to do all of that on site.
So with all the sparkling wines and all the different wines you make and the different styles, and you talk about them as being, speaking about the grape, letting the grape shine through and not being, overly big or anything, how do you then approach pairing these wines with food? Do you look at rules to follow, or do you just pair sparkling wine with everything?
Well, sparkling's easy to pair with just about everything.
Absolutely.
It really is. But there are nuances to it, and there's so many foods that can just wipe it out and make it go quiet. So I just came from a tasting that we do with our restaurant partner before the club event. And we tasted 3 different pairings for each wine. And, some of them, like this time we did from Chef Jesus of Zephyrs, his Vichyssoise with our unoaked Chardonnay made the wine sing.
What do you think it was? Was it that they matched, that they contrasted? Was it the wine elevating one or the food the other, or was
it elevated the wine and made the fruit notes of the wine just come out and jump for joy, And an unlikely pairing, he did like a roasted beet salad that made the rosé of Malbec just go leaping out with strawberries,
Wow. So the idea is obviously to make the wine and the food both jump. Do you look for certain things if you were to pick a pairing, or do you trust the chef to do it?
No, and that's why he prepared almost 20 different dishes for us to taste through and select in, and we're, he thought for sure these profiteroles with this onion jam would be incredible with the Pinot Noir. And it's like the wine went flat to me. And, it was like, it's not working for me.
Did you find another pairing for those?
We did. It's a tostada with short ribs and a mole sauce. Ooh. I could cheat because I have the menu with me. But,
that sounds quite good.
But heavy on the blackberries. I mean, it was just loaded as a blackberry mole.
Wow.
And it really did pair beautifully with it.
Wow. Making me hungry. And I could keep talking about food, but I mean, it all comes from the vineyard. It all starts in the vineyard. And we are looking out at your vineyards. We walked past your vineyards as we came in here. And how much time do you spend walking through your vineyards?
Oh, every day.
Every day.
Every day. I have 2 German Shepherds, and we walk through them every day of the year, that we're here.
Yeah.
We do go away occasionally, but there. And then in the fall, like last fall, we were the ones out there dropping all the fruit. David and I, my husband and I, and our 2 German shepherds. They don't do much work, but
they're moral support.
Yeah, it's glorious to be in the vineyards that much and really get to know them. You understand your different locations in the vineyard, where your trouble spots, where your really glorious spots. I know as a dog lover, I'm sure you talk to your dogs all the time, because I know that as a dog lover, I talk to the dogs in my life. And we talk to our dogs and we feel that they respond to us. Yeah. I'm curious, do you talk to your vines and feel that they respond to you? I think the vines respond to care. And I feel, on our DNA, we're not that far removed from vines. You'd be surprised how close we are. And there's got to be more than we to share than we know or observe. I think we benefit from a healthy plant, and they benefit and get energy from a healthy person.
So there is a level of communication that goes on between it. As you walk through the vines, and you've been here, you said 11 years you've had these vines?
Oh, no, we produced our first wine in 1996.
From these vines here?
From this vineyard across the street.
Okay.
Yeah, the Merlot.
So 96. So we're talking
they
about...
were planted in 92.
So we're talking about over 30 years. In that time, as you've seen the vineyard mature and as you spend vintage after vintage, do you see more variation from year to year? Do you see a nice common thread that goes throughout? What have you noticed? Because we know every vintage tells a different story, and you talked about how you want your wines to express that. But how much variation do you see?
Oh, there's a lot, because our vineyards go from 600 to just over 800 feet in elevation. Some are south and west facing, some are north and east facing. The ones behind us on this toasted slope getting full facing the south, that's, you pick the Cabernet Sauvignon for that. And the ones that are facing north and east, that goes toward the Pinot. So it's very site specific. So we're very careful about looking at the vineyard and deciding what goes where. Then you also have to be, very proactive. I mean, the methods of farming have changed dramatically in those 30 years. And so, where they used to put water on for like full 24, 48-hour sets and then leave it off for a week or 10 days, that's definitely not the way we do it now.
No.
It's much shorter sets more frequently. So as farming improves, and we're close partners with UC Davis and also with Fresno, we pay a lot of attention to what people and companies are finding out and studying. So I think we're all just learning how to be better stewards of the land and better vineyard owners.
And as a result, do you feel that the variation every vintage gives you is less of a shock, or it's not as extreme, or does Mother Nature take over and you have no say in that?
Well, like Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet Franc. Those guys are so happy here. They just grow themselves. They put out the perfect canopy. They put out the perfect amount of fruit.
Year after year.
Yeah, and they just practically grow themselves. We hardly do anything to them. But like Petit Verdot, it is a really difficult grape to grow here. And as we're getting cooler, we're all having to switch it up because the late ripening Cabernet Sauvignons just aren't getting ripe. And so, it's we're having to adjust as our climate is changing, and we're having a hard time getting all the grapes in even before Thanksgiving. Holy cow! You can't do that. That's tough to and then you've got to go through the fermentations and get your tanks warm enough.
And by the time you finish, it's time to bottle.
Oh my God, it is. We are. I mean, then we're bottling like 2 weeks later the Sauvignon Blanc, and you're like, holy cow.
Are there any sort of signs or predictors that you look for that are going to tell you what a harvest is going to be like?
Oh, it's there's always something that throws you for a loop, and you just, Mother Nature is a bitch of a business partner. Sometimes she's amazing and very cooperative, but it keeps you super humble, and you just have to pivot and watch and pivot and learn, and have good partners with your vineyard managers, because, we got hit with, really high temperatures very early on this year. And so, we put up the shade cloths on the Pinot Noir much earlier than normal. We were, just watering a little bit more, holding back on the, on lifting, on stripping the leaves around the grape bunches. So just, you just try to adjust to what Mother Nature's bringing giving you.
So you have to be on your toes, and you can't really plan and predict. But I'm curious if there's one thing you plan. Do you have any sort of good luck rituals that you do at the start of harvest for yourself personally, or maybe with the team?
Most of our rituals are at harvest. And so David and I and our family, a lot of them fly in for this and spend some part of the red wine harvest with us. But it's a big, the sorting in the vineyards, the sorting in the bins, and then the sorting on the shaker table is very critical for us for most of our wines and all the reds. And we always, we start very early in the morning, so it's getting coffee and donuts, or usually, sometimes it's healthier, but the donuts is
key when you're working.
Key for me. And then, Julie and I, and sometimes our hospitality manager, Mark McMillan, or one of our daughters will bring in a lunch, and it's typically, Julian will always do Hungarian dishes, and so it's chicken paprikash or Hungarian stew.
Big hearty meals.
Yeah, and I always will do white chili, red chili. We'll bring in oysters, believe it or not, and barbecue them. It's just, it's a food fest. So we really enjoy the coming together at the vineyard table at lunch. And then we typically, on a good day, then we're cleaning up. On a hard day, then we're still going for a few more hours.
Yeah. I like that tradition, eating every day. Yeah. Big meals, big communal meals.
Together. Yeah. And then you're drinking a lot of the unfinished wines, like the Sauvignon Blanc or the Rosé that are in the tank, getting ready to be bottled in December. And it's a lot of fun, to taste that wine as it's developing and, and see what's going on with it.
Well, with all the joy that you have in your tone and in your eyes when you talk about that, when you were little, what did you want to be when you grew up? Was wine something you always knew was kind of in your blood, or did you have other visions? And you are also an artist, right? So what is your medium?
My medium for the most part is acrylic on canvas. I work with metallics as well, metallic leaf. I'm starting to get back into watercolors. I love watercolors. Watercolors take a whole lot of investment. They take a lot more time, and so they're a little less forgiving.
Have you ever thought about painting with wine?
That's a very good idea. I paint things that I'm inspired by wine. There's a piece behind you that is a modern piece. It's a circle, and it's all kind of bubbly and has purple, dark purple, blue, fuchsias in it. And that is when you're looking down inside the fermentation tank. And you're doing the, when we put the pipe, the pipe down that starts blowing bubbles gently, and then it slowly just starts coming up like a volcano, and so it sends up all these iridescent, fuchsia and pink and bright blue foam, and bubbles up, and so I try to capture that with that piece. But I haven't tried painting with wine yet, but I should with watercolor, yes.
So back to what I asked, did you want to be an art? What did you want to be when you were little? Was it art or?
Happy.
Happy? Well, that's good.
I always thought I would be an architect, and that was my dream. My family was also architects that came from Switzerland. But it just kind of life took a different turn, and I went into business and met my husband, and I don't know, then started having the family, and at that point I could really start to take some time to paint, and we found ourselves going in. We were both with Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati, and we just kept playing we always thought if we won the lottery, we would, move back west where our families, most of them were settled, and start up a winery, because we met on our first day really talking wine and enjoying wine together. And we always just thought that's what we would do, if we ever won the lottery, but we never played the lottery. So there's a real problem there.
Yeah. And yet you still ended up owning a winery, so there you go.
We did. Gallo offered my husband a job when we were just about ready to be moved out with our 2 young daughters to Europe. And we decided to take this leap and do the wine thing instead. And from there, to here, it's been a marvelous journey. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I really love working in agriculture. I really love trying to make this product that brings so much joy.
I love that. So I hate to ask, when you're not working, how do you spend your free time? Because clearly your work is your passion. There's no free time.
There's no free time. But, every day I get to do something I love, which is either paint, walk in the vineyards, or be involved with the wines, So, it's all great. It's just it's just very crazy right now, and we really love music. And we have, during COVID, quite a few wineries went out of business, and we had to pivot. And so we closed down our tasting room, which is, you toured it over there. It's now a dispensary. But we...
Literally a dispensary.
We opened a dispensary over there. But so COVID hits, and we lose 95% of our business overnight. And, I looked at my husband, I said, we have got to move our tasting room outside. So, and Dave said, well, we've got to have an indoor option when it's too rainy or hot. And so at that point, this was storing cases of wine, this barn. It's over 100 years old. It was owned by Bing Crosby.
Wow.
And it's the only thing on the property that's still standing from when Bing was here and owned the property. But I always wanted to open up Bing's barn, right? So we did this room, and then, opened up the Terrace and Green, which is a beautiful lawn and arbors with, so you can taste in the shade and be outside, surrounded by the vineyard.
And then I saw a stage over there.
There is a stage. That stage is part of Shakespeare. So Shakespeare Associates Spark Theater performs for about a month every summer here.
Wow.
So they're doing the 12th night. It's quite wonderful. And Thursday night, they'll be starting again. They perform usually Thursday through Sunday.
Oh, how amazing.
They're doing the 12th night right now, and it's a marvelous theater. But so when we were back to COVID and remodeling, we needed a place to store our cases, so we took over a lease from a winery that had to go out of business, unfortunately. And it was just a big warehouse about 1.5 miles from here, and we just kept looking at it thinking, artists, the music artists are struggling too. Wouldn't it be this place be a great music venue? We could open that up and support, musicians. And we have a lot of brands, and that was our opportunity to open up the Almost Famous Wine Company, which allowed us to invite in almost famous artists, or artists that maybe, I don't know, but we wanted all original singer-songwriters.
Oh, amazing.
And to support them in their industry. So we had professional lighting, stage, sound companies come in and design the set, the room with us, and you'll see it tonight. The sound is beautiful. Tonight we have Carolyn Wonderland, who's an amazing blues artist and legendary, and so we're in for a good show tonight. But we have a Big Brother in the holding company comes a couple times a year. We're
lots of different
Mike
musicians.
Zito from the Black Crows, he comes and plays. so lots of different genres and music.
Fun.
And it's a blast.
Oh, I love it. And then you serve them your almost famous sparkling Gruner Veltliner.
No, we do. And whatever else they want to drink. Usually they love the Sauvignon Blanc and a red.
So when you look back at your life, along the way, we have mentors, we have guides, we have teachers. Is there someone that gave you a piece of advice along the way that you carry with you, that you try to live or work by?
Joe Gallo.
And what did he teach you?
Joe Gallo taught me that the steps of the owner are the most important fertilizer in the vineyard. And so to always keep in touch with, never lose touch with your vineyard, and and walk it every day and know it and be a good steward of the land. And I hated my name being used for a long time because it's awkward. Sometimes, a lot of the time. And Eleanor Coppola, Ellie, who just passed away, and I miss her dearly, she said to me, finally, she grabbed me one day and she says, "Just get over it." Your name's on the product, just get over it.
Well, and when people love the wine, it's a direct reflection, right?
Yeah. I hope of the family and of this, it's a big family. I mean, our family's quite small, but the team, Julian and his family, and the managers and all the supervisors and associates, we all just become family.
So when you look back at your career, what would you say is one of your proudest accomplishments to date?
Living with integrity is always the thing I'm most proud of, that we behave and function in a way that we hope is fair for everybody and brings everybody good. And that is what means the most. The greatest honor that was bestowed on me was being poured at the White House for the 100th anniversary of the First Lady's Luncheon.
Oh, how amazing.
It was with Michelle Obama, and I took my girls out of college and flew them in, and we entered this room, and every waiter was holding our Chardonnay, and got to meet Michelle, and it was exciting. And the really amazing thing that happened during that is I lost my mom when she was 50. She was very young, and so she never got to see me in this world, And she had a very favorite song called "The Wave," and it's never played. You never hear it. It's very rare. It's a bossa nova song. Okay. And when the First Lady's table came in and was being seated, the Marine Corps band struck up.
Oh my God.
And, I just felt like she was with me, like it was a sign.
And they didn't know that. That was just coincidence.
They had no clue. And I looked over, my youngest daughter, Amanda, she got in my face and she said, "Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry." And of course I burst into tears.
What an amazing, wow. I ask another question. I'm going to ask you another question that might make you cry, but this one I've done.
Yeah, you did it. Okay.
So, complete this sentence for me. I'm going to give you a little reprieve before I ask you the question that'll make you cry, because I pretty much know your answer, I think, but we'll see if we can lighten it up. But complete the sentence for me. A table without wine is like?
A bath without water.
Beautiful. It's a very, yeah.
Yeah.
It's visceral. I can see that.
Wine is just it's a beautiful beverage, and it does enhance your meal. And I don't care if you're just eating an iceberg lettuce with salad dressing poured over it over the sink, or you're at the celebration of a wedding. Mm-hmm. The minute you open the bottle of wine, it signals just a celebration of, wow, I made it through the day. Yeah. Or I'm here with all the people I love the most in the world, and we're celebrating this great union. Both of them are so worthy, and 99% of our opening the bottles are, I just made it through the day.
So when you're planning a romantic evening for you and your husband, and it's not just I made it through the day, but it's an intentional like plan. What sort of wines do you open that set a more romantic mood as opposed to just an average day?
Well, it usually starts with bubbles. And if there's several people involved and you're able to open more than a bottle, lately, because it's summer too. I mean, the Sauvignon Blanc, but we've talked a lot about that. So the Cabernet Franc is such a special wine. It is a varietal that's not very well known, and it's a varietal we're all investing in heavily in Livermore because it grows well here. Nobody's claimed it yet. Right?
So for a romantic evening,
Cabernet Franc.
After the bubbles.
After the bubbles. It is such a gorgeous wine. It got a little bit more going on. I mean, it's like something like if you're on the spectrum and Pinot's at the lighter end of reds and we put Cabernet Sauvignon, it's not the heaviest, but let's just go between that. Cabernet Franc is going in the middle. And you talk about those three wines. So the mother vine, or the two parents of Cabernet Sauvignon are Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet Franc. And I just find that spectacularly interesting because you would think that these two wines wouldn't make such a huge wine, but it's got all the aromatics of the Sauvignon Blanc, and it's got the structure and spice and the the texture and the layers from the Cabernet Franc, and so Cabernet Sauvignon has a lot to owe to these two parents. And the Cabernet Franc is also, I'm so excited for people to discover it more and more because it is a worthy varietal and should be on your dinner table because it is designed to go with food. It has more acidity, it has more layers, some spice. It's not going to overwhelm your meal with alcohol, with tannins, with too much sugar, anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just kind of the structural player in the background that kind of makes everything go, oh, nice.
So we have a bottle of Cabernet Franc sitting on the table, and there's an extra seat at the table next to you. Who from any walk of life, living or deceased, I mean, I'm going to guess that you're going to say your mom, which is a very fair answer, but I want to keep you from tearing up again. But who from any walk of life would you love to share a bottle of Darcie Kent Cabernet Franc, or any wine, the Sauvignon Blanc or the sparkling? 2 seats. Your mom gets one of them.
Oh, my God, I need 3. There's 3 people. My mom, for one, because, she came from the winemaking family and really shared the love of this, with me. But her grandparents, Christian and Rosa Rugsugger from Switzerland, they of all the so much research I've done about them and been so fortunate to have been able to get a lot of research on them. And Rosa was just like this firecracker of a gal and just so much spirit, and all of her photos have so much life and mischievousness and just, gumption. And, you read all the reports my great-grandfather wrote and my great-great-grandfather wrote. It was so funny. Not too long ago, he had written back to Switzerland, in the 1880s or 1879. He wrote back to Switzerland about phylloxera. And so he's talking to them and all the, the viticulture and what he's learning in America and everything like that. And so he's going on, it's a very technical paper, and we finally got it translated from Gothic German into English. And our tagline is the art of the vine, right? So it's on all of our boxes and everything. And as we're reading the translation, he at the end of it he says, despite all the troubles with phylloxera and everything we're dealing with and you're dealing with, the art of the vine is such a noble profession.
Wow.
And it's just things like that, little surprises all the time where your ancestors kind of come calling.
So we just need a table full of your ancestors to drink the wine with you.
So love that. I got the chance. Fox News about 10 years ago called me up from Kansas City and said, we're doing these little blurbs, like 30-second blurb. We need to find out about your family winery. And so I gave them all the information, and they did the spot, and it came up. And, I haven't been on the property since I was a child. And so I said, can you put me in touch with the guy at the property? And he's like, yeah, he wants to talk to you too. So I got on the phone with him, and we're chatting away. And one of the stories my mom always shared with me was, I wish you could have seen the cellar. Your great-great-grandfather did all the murals on the wall to make it feel like you're in a cask room in the cellar. But it was, he died falling down the steps into the cellar, and so did one of his daughters.
Oh my God.
So they sealed it up, and nobody ever went in it again. And so it was closed up. And so I'm talking to this guy on the phone who owns the property now. House is still standing. And he said, yeah, well, tell me about these murals. And I said, where? And he said, oh, in the cellar. And I'm like, you opened the cellar? And he said, yeah, it's my man cave. And I burst out crying. And I'm like, can I come? Can I come see it? So, of course, then Fox News had to get involved, and it became part 2 and part 3
But the murals are still there.
The murals are still there, and he opened it all up, and it's just gorgeous, and it was incredible to be able to go spend time there again.
Had he found wine in there? Was there wine when he opened?
Well, the guy who sold the property to him was the gentleman who bought it from my grandparents, and he still had wine bottles. They were empty, but he brought bottles and gave them to me. Wow. So he came, so that was like part 3.
Wow.
But it, and then I found so many, friends of my parents who had pictures, and of my great-great-grandparents. So it's been a blessing.
Wow. So many stories and so much history. You don't get that a lot necessarily here in California. It's different when you talk to winemakers in Europe who have 7, 8 generations.
It is.
I'm curious, we're going to play our little game at the end, which you've been warned about pairing wine with music, and we're going to pair it with the wines you've been talking about because, they sound delicious, so now I'm excited about that. But I do have a question, just on a silly thought. If you were going to a deserted island, could take any 3 wines with you, any 3 wines, what 3 wines would they be?
Pizzoni Pinot Noir, Darcie Kent Sauvignon Blanc, and my Cabernet Franc, probably. But maybe Bubbles. I might have to go with that Blanc de Noir that we're releasing. But that baby, it's like the baby hasn't been born yet, and I want to see what that baby's going to develop into. But I'm very excited about it.
Ooh. Okay, so let's come back to the bubbles that have been born. Your Gruner Veltliner, Almost Famous, Method Champenois. Tell me the music that it makes you think of.
It makes me think of Going to California by Led Zeppelin. It is Julian Halaz, our winemaker, and I, both of our families started on Gruner Veltliner vineyards. And when we started working together, we looked for Gruner Veltliner and found it. And the Rava family in Monterey was planting it and making wine from it. So we produced it under the Darcie label, and we always thought, it was actually my daughter Kaylin who was like, we got to do bubbles with this. How do we do bubbles? She kept saying it to us every single year at harvest. She comes down and works with us, and it's like, we're not really a bubble house. We're not set up to be a bubble house. And she's like, yes, but she would say it every single year. So finally we gave in about 6, 7, I don't know. COVID took all the years away. Before COVID, we got into the bubbles with making Gruner Veltliner.
And like you said, you're soon going to have the facility, so you will be a bubble house before you know it.
We are going to be a bubble house. And we're really excited about being a bubble house, having bubbles as part of our repertoire. But the song is leaving and coming to California and looking for that girl with flowers in her hair and playing the guitar by the, and for us it was the girl with flowers in her hair was that perfect varietal, and the champagne is just taking it to the next level. Doing it with bubbles. It's doing something with an old vine we're both very familiar with, and doing something fresh and bubbly with it.
I love it. So your Sauvignon Blanc that you've been talking about, what song does that make you think of?
That song makes me think of the Beatles, Here Comes the Sun. And we bottle it, in the winter, and when we're tired of winter and the rain and the gray skies, and we almost look forward to a bottle breaking, while we're bottling, because it will perfume, the entire room and just make it feel like sunshine is just poured in. It is sunshine in a glass. And
I love it.
when you hear that song, Here Comes the Sun, do 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 do, and it's all right. That's you just feel that when we're bottling it, it just promises that the winter will end and we'll be back to summer.
I love it. And of course, your Cabernet Franc.
Cabernet Franc to me is Christy McVie, and it's everywhere. And she is I'm so sad she's gone, because I just love her music, and I think they're just having this enormous renaissance right now. But she's such a backbone to Fleetwood Mac, and you just kind of never really notice it, until she finally does sing on her own. And when she does, everybody's so blown away. And this song to me just represents the best of her, and that she, and that it's everywhere. And that's what I feel about Cab Franc. It's everywhere, but nobody really knows that it's there, and but I'm hoping they'll discover it and fall in love with it,
The way you have.
Yeah. And I just love Fleetwood Mac. I grew up on that band. I love that band.
Well, Darcie, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. And I have one more question, because we've been talking forever, and I'm sure you have so many more stories that we could go on and on, because I love your family stories. They're great. But I'm curious, what winemaking region in the world is at the top of your bucket list to explore?
I've had the chance to explore so many. I love the Alto Adige. I love Alsace. I love Portugal. Tend to like really hilly regions. I haven't done Champagne, and I would like to do that. I've been all over Italy, and I'd go back to Italy in a heartbeat. I just love the way they live life and celebrate with wine. I love the ceremony of cleaning the glass, and seasoning it.
Yeah.
The way they really look at each other when you toast. I learned to live life better after I experienced Italy.
I agree.
But I really do want to go to Champagne.
I think you should. Well, I think you should plan a trip to Champagne. I think you should go and touch those chalk soils and drink the champagne. But for somebody listening who might want to come to Darcie Kent and experience Darcie Kent, how can they find you? Where can they find you? And what can they experience when they come here? You talked a little bit about it, about the Shakespeare, about the music, the indoor, the outdoor, your art. Is there anything else to add to that?
Oh, my. The club events are so much fun. They're all about music and, experiencing the food with the wine. It's a great celebration. The wines we ship almost everywhere that you can ship, and we're starting to get out there a little bit as far as retailers.
Right. But in terms of coming here,
for coming here, Livermore Valley is just so accessible to the San Francisco Bay Area, as well as Oakland and San Jose and Sacramento. We get a lot of travelers who are spending time going to the other wine regions. We're a lot more accessible. We're 45 minutes from the furthest airport, and we're It's always sunny, and the weather is usually just so beautiful. And with the temperature drops, make sure you bring a sweater for every night. In the tasting rooms, you're going to meet the owners and the winemakers. You're going to have gorgeous views. You're going to find people who are of the soil and really belong here. You're going to get such a sense of this great wine country.
Well, I think you should come. Come and check out Darcie Kent. Beautiful views, enjoy indoor, outdoor music, everything. And Darcie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Appreciate that.
And I'm excited to taste some more of your wines.
Thank you. I'm really excited to share them with you.
Thanks. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack USA. For details and updates, visit our website, winesoundtrack.com.